Keiler 25.1 instead of Keiler 1.
The Keiler 1 by Liemke came out back in 2022 and has been on the market for quite a while now. Solid specs, 640 resolution, 35mm lens, 22 yards field of view at 100 yards distance. It's a good all-around thermal scope for open fields and forest hunting. A lot of my hunting buddies use it as their go-to. It's primarily sold here in Europe. Street price these days is around 1,700 euros here, and but then there's the Keiler 25.1, the little brother, that one. You can get it for about 1,500 euros here in Europe. Sometimes even less, but availability can be hit or miss, especially with dealers offering it for cheaper. Sometimes you don't really know when it will show up, so I'd be a little cautious with extreme low prices. It has 380 resolution, a 25mm lens and a 18.5 yards field of view at 100 yards distance. I've used both devices out in the field and in the woods. With the 25.1 I actually ran into a critical situation in the forest where it had to prove itself, but more on that in a bit. As a cameraman, I obviously need to get a handle on the technical stuff first. 35mm versus 25mm. You'd think that 25mm would give you a wider field of view, but in this case it's actually slightly smaller, with 18.5 yards. The reason comes down to the sensor size on pixel pitch. Both have a 12 micron pixel pitch, meaning the distance from pixel to pixel center is the same. Because the 25.1 has a lower resolution, the sensor itself is physically smaller. We just visualize this for you because most of the people don't have a clue how tiny these sensors really are behind the lens, and it fits perfectly behind the optics. So these are actual sensor sizes we are talking about here of these cameras. Just look how tiny they are. If you're into photography, you might know about APS-C versus full frame. Different sensor sizes mean different crop factors. With a smaller sensor, like the APS-C, you're effectively zoomed in a bit more. That's exactly what's happening with the 25.1. It uses that smaller sensor to crop in and pull out more detail, even if it loses a bit of field of view. Yeah, we are getting a little technical here, but I think it's important to explain. The 25.1 is smartly engineered, similar to other thermal devices in the 380 resolution class. The Keiler 1 has 640 horizontal pixels, while the 25.1 has 380. That's about 40.6% less on paper, which sounds like a lot, but I crunched the numbers based on field of view. Who's interested, you'll find my calculation down in the comments. And practically speaking, the difference in resolution is only about 30%. And thanks to the tighter optical zoom, the 25.1 actually showed me an important detail during one of my hunts that I would have missed otherwise. We mounted both devices side by side on a tripod and took them to a wildlife park to do a direct comparison. Once you go beyond about 5 times digital zoom, the 25.1 starts to struggle a little bit. The Keiler 1 naturally handles that better because of its base resolution. The wild sow here wasn't fazed by anything, so we were about 25 to 30 yards away and nothing happened with her. When I took the setup to an open field again, both cameras were mounted side by side again, aimed at the same thing. At one point, I noticed a suspicious figure sneaking through our hunting grounds around 11:30 at night, about 140 yards away. Both scopes showed the person pretty clearly. This is definitely the kind of situation where you want to look twice. Turns out it wasn't a poacher, just a fellow hunter looking for wild boars that had already moved on. Later, under real-world conditions, I tested just the 25.1. I was sitting in the blind watching over the bait station and suddenly saw 2 roe deer at about 35 to 40 yards. The resolution was more than enough to clearly identify the buck, so that was a win. A bit later, I saw a larger heat signature at least 80 to 100 yards out, coming through the trees Relatively narrow, 18.5 yards field of view, and the strong lens made it easy to pick up, even through brush and branches. Eventually, a lone wild boar appeared right in front of me about 40 yards out. This was the moment of truth. Could the 25.1 give me enough details without having to rely on my rival scope with night vision? You be the judge. In my opinion, even with just 384 by 288 pixels, the image was totally usable. I could clearly see the boar's suckled teats. When I checked later through my night scope, it confirmed what I saw. So yeah, test passed. Especially for those typical 35 to 50 yards baiting distances, the 25.1 actually pulls out a lot of details with its tighter lens, even though it has lower resolution than its big brother, the Keiler one. While I was watching the boar, I suddenly heard this smacking sound to my left, and yep, there he was again, my old friend the badger, totally chill and not bothered at all. Sure, the narrow field of view gives me more details, but on the other side, less situational awareness. I probably wouldn't have noticed the badger if he hadn't been so loud. Just to show the difference, here's an image from a Challenger 15 with a 44 yards field of view. You see the entire scene, but of course you lose all the details. I didn't pull the trigger, and the boar should go back to her piglets, and the badger was out of season anyway. Eventually the badger got a bit too bold and the boar chased him off. The controls on the 25.1 are great. Actual physical main switch, which I love. There's a 3-position toggle up that feels kind of like a 98 carbine. It's easy to navigate in the dark, especially if there's moonlight. So there's a white marker here that you can see, or you can just feel the switch position. The scroll wheel gives you finger placement and quick access and orientation to the menu, and function buttons, the record buttons, up to the front. With the wheel you can zoom in and out, which you can't do with most rubber button interfaces where you have to cycle through the whole zoom range. Hand strap looks basic at first, but it turns out it's just ambidextrous and you can use it with both hands. The included neck strap is adjustable to easy fit into this little belt here too. Menu-wise, it's simple and clear, no unnecessary fluff, just straightforward settings like rain or sun to adjust sensor sensitivity. Other cameras give you 5 different options, but honestly, I've never seen a major difference. They've boiled it down to what matters, and I think that's actually smart. Color modes. Red is hot, white is hot, black is hot, rainbow. Usually I find rainbow kind of a little bit trippy, but I recently found a use for it. We just had several dead piglets in our area and I was scouting during the daytime. Rainbow mode worked really well. Anything that's not warm shows up as blue, so you can quickly scan and see where there's actual heat or just sunlight filtering through the trees. Handling wise, it just fits great. Small enough to fit easily in your hand, not too front heavy like this. It's just pretty good balanced. Sure, a plastic housing could have made it lighter, but the metal body feels super high quality. Combined with those physical switches and precise focus, just like this, it almost reminds me of a professional broadcast camera. I just like it. Heading back to the car later that night, I had to switch to my Challenger again. With only 18.5 yards of view, it's tough to find your way on narrow trails, especially in total darkness. But that's not what this device is meant for anyway. Battery life still had 70% left after 3 hours in the blind, pretty solid. And you can easily swap the battery or just plug in an USB power here at the front. You can just disattach the battery like this and just comes out. Battery replacements cost you around 59 euros here. It's IP67 rated, dustproof, waterproof and rain safe. Just make sure the USB rubber cap is closed and you will be fine. There's also a nice neoprene cover included. I wish it came with a lens cap. That flips closed, but that's an optional accessory. Just be careful not to scratch your germanium lens. Just put the cover on top and everything's fine. So my advice, always pop on the neoprene sleeve when you are not using it. That way, even if it bumps somewhere, like on your rival or whatever, it's just protected very well. So here's the bottom line. There are definitely cheaper thermal scopes in the 380 class, like the Thick Micro LH25. Some of those are 200 to 300 euros less. But honestly, I'd still go for the 25.1. The build quality is just excellent. It feels like a premium product. I even called Blaser and asked about long-term support. They confirmed the devices are still in production and fully supported. You can send them in for service to Wetzlar, even from abroad, either through your local distributor or direct to their service center. That kind of support is worth way more than saving a couple of $100. Just my opinion. Plus, the attention to detail, the hardware, the switches, accessories, it's all just works. And there's even a tripod mount. I haven't even mentioned that yet. So you can just screw this into the housing and you've got a solid tripod mount underneath. Only question that's really left, do you settle for the 25.1 or spend a little bit more and go with the bigger Keiler 1? That's up to you. One thing's for sure, you can't go wrong with the 25.1. So what's your opinion about it? Drop a comment below, I'd be happy to hear from you. As a cameraman and hunter, I cover everything here around optics, aiming tech, night vision, and thermal imaging. If you like this, feel free to like, comment, or better yet, subscribe. It really helps to push the algorithm and keeps the channel going. If you hit the bell, you don't miss the next one.